I ever failed to...
Hey guys, my name is Todd Derry, and this is TD's Fat to Fit, your free online strength and conditioning coach in your pocket. The other day I was out with some friends and a couple people having a drink, and I ordered a Diet Coke. And somebody spoke up and said, "You know that causes cancer, right?" And here in my infinite knowledge about all things nutrition and bodybuilding, I thought to myself, stop. No, it doesn't. But it did put a little question in my head. And I have done some research in the past, but not really a deep dive. Have I really truly read the white papers that state one way or another? Have I really done true research on the toxicity of aspartame? And I thought to myself, that'd be cool to do a comparison of alcohol and aspartame. Is there good levels? Is there healthy levels? Are there unhealthy levels? So today is alcohol versus aspartame. Which one can kill you? Which one is really toxic? And which one actually has decent side effects? But before then, please like, subscribe, and share with anybody you think might find this info valuable. Disclaimer time, I'm not a doctor. Cops be pulling up like I'm passing out drugs. Nah. I'm a bodybuilder, not a doctor. If you have questions or concerns, call your doctor or your functional medicine practitioner. Now that we get that out of the way, a little bit about myself. I've been bodybuilding since I was 17, won multiple shows. I've had my own crusade, so to speak, in weight loss and my own weight loss journey. I've been a coach and a trainer for multiple people, pro and amateur bodybuilders, physique competitors, strength athletes, teenagers from 15 all the way up to 75 years old, men and women alike. I've helped a lot of people achieve their fitness goals. But this has put me in a lot of positions to learn a lot. And being an IFBB Physique America judge, chairman, promoter, and so I've been on the competitive side and the business side. And in doing so, I've learned a lot about different nutritional strategies. And I have my own belief system on all of these things that work and what don't work and what I've heard and what I've seen online and all the gurus that are out there. So that's what this channel is, trying to decipher the bullshit from reality, what works and what doesn't. And when I don't know, I'm going to do some research like I did this week. I don't want to admit how many white papers I read, because when I get into something, I dive deep. And it's boring. Really boring. God, reading about white paper studies on the metabolites of different compounds and how they interfere with the gut microbiome and the different flora that is involved. We're talking dry. But I suffered and pounded through it. So please, when we go through this, don't shoot the messenger. As much as I want to believe that I knew everything, I didn't know jack shit. And that's hard for me to say because here I am, Mr. Know-It-All when it comes to nutrition. I learned some stuff this week that is terrifying, absolutely terrifying. So buckle up. Again, don't shoot the messenger. Let's get into alcohol versus aspartame. So we're going to start with what are the metabolites? What do they turn into? Because aspartame doesn't stay aspartame once it hits your gut, and nor does alcohol. What are the implications of those molecules once they turn into whatever they turn into? What do they do to the body? What's the available data? How old is the data? How much data is there? Is there a safe level of consumption for either item? Is there an unsafe level of consumption? Are we exposed to any of these metabolites through other food products? So do the metabolites that we get from alcohol and aspartame, do we get somewhere else in our diet? And do any of those metabolites cause cancer? And if so, which ones? And then what other diseases might we be at risk for if we consume these items? And then my final thoughts and opinions and disbelief. I should say new belief and disbelief on what I've learned. So the history of aspartame starts in 1965 by the guy who invented it, James Schlatter. He was trying to come up with an anti-ulcer drug, and against lab policy, he licked his fingers while he was trying to work with two different compounds. They're not really drugs. And he found that it was sweet. Fast forward almost 20 years. In 1981, the FDA approved it for a sugar alternative. Basically, it's a weak chemical bond between methylphenylalanine and aspartic acid, and that's where you get aspartame, aspartic acid, and methylphenylalanine. It's quickly metabolized in the body. The thing that I found amazing is that it has probably the most safety studied molecule in FDA history. There is more safety studies and white paper data on this than any other molecule in history. That's crazy. The problem is most of the data is inconclusive or just it's safe. There's a lot of bias in this data, and we'll get into that, but most of it is inconclusive. So what does that mean? It means that you can't decipher the outcome over just the general population. So if there's headaches, nausea, anxiety, or all the other things, well, that happens in normal society anyways from a normal diet. So is it the Diet Coke or is it just life? So a lot of the data is inconclusive, meaning it really didn't do anything and they couldn't pull the information out of it. However, in 2019, there was a good study done. The National Library of Science published a paper, said that aspartame is rapidly absorbed. It is safe. It is not toxic to genes or gene toxic, and it has no to little impact on the microbiome, no measurable impact on the microbiome, which is different from other sugar alternatives, such as stevia, sweet and low, sucralose, xylitol, erythritol. So I want to make this clear. This is about aspartame, not about other sugar alternatives. This is truly solely about aspartame. So the metabolites of aspartame, what does it turn into when it hits the gut? It turns into aspartic acid, as it was originally, phenylalanine, and methanol. Let's start with aspartic acid. How does that interact with the body? It's a non-essential amino acid. Non-essential means our body makes it. So that's a good thing. We have it in, whether we eat it or not, it's in our system. It helps enable proper cell function. It helps balance normal hormone levels. It's good in a normal nervous system function. It also has a role in energy production and helps with nervous system communication. So it's a neurotransmitter. So phenylalanine is an essential amino acid, which means we need to consume it through normal food products. Our body does not make it. It's a neurotransmitter, which enhances mental alertness and memory. It's a natural antidepressant and improves mood. And I know this from dieting. I used to take equal packets, and, if I really was down that day, maybe it was anecdotal, probably was, but it would make me feel better if I just took a little equal packet and had that sweetness, and it just made me lighter. It made me happier because I was all pissed off about not being able to eat. It suppresses appetite, found in many natural food products, so we get exposed to it through other means, meat, eggs, fish, dairy, and it's also a building block to other amino acids and proteins in the body. So it's an important building block for peptides and other processes. So this is all good stuff. Aspartic acid, we don't need to make it because it's already made in our body. Phenylalanine is a good antidepressant, neurotransmitter. This is all good stuff. All right, so methanol, that must be where the toxicity comes in, right? Harmless at any consumable amount, okay, is dealt with by the body through many chemical and biological processes in the digestive system, creating by digested many natural food products like vegetables and fruits. But the more ripe it is, we make more methanol when it's riper. So basically, we get exposed to it through other food products. How much? About 1,000 milligrams of methanol we get exposed to a day. So how much do we get from a Coke or Diet Coke? About 20 to 30 milligrams. So that's not much at all. Like, this is 1-2%. This is very minimal. Okay, so what's the toxicity level? If you have the chance and you drink 22,000 cans, you might find the toxicity level of methanol. I'm not doing that. Fermented drinks like beer and wine also create methanol. Okay. As a point of reference, just to be cute, you would die from 300 cups of coffee or 300 sodas of caffeine toxicity before you die from methanol toxicity. Way, way before that. So, just a point of reference. And also, another point of reference, how many alcoholic drinks would you need to drink before you die or before you get to that toxic overdose level? We've all heard of that person that died of alcohol poisoning or got really sick or whatever. We've all been there. Okay, so metabolites of alcohol. ADH enzyme turns alcohol into acetaldehyde. I've been practicing that one. ADH also turns acetaldehyde in excess consumption. It turns into acetate. So what do those do? Acetaldehyde is a known carcinogen that promotes cancer development through multiple mechanisms. Okay, including interference with DNA replication, induction of DNA damage, so it's unraveling the DNA strand, and then creates DNA adducts. What's a DNA adduct? That's when the DNA strand unravels, it binds with the chemical that is unraveling it and creates a new compound of unproliferated cell growth, cancer. This is highly toxic to mitochondria, brain cells, liver function, and many other organs. Acetate. What does acetate do? Acetate turns into acetyl-CoA and has been implicated in hepatocellular carcinoma, liver cancer, glioblastoma, brain cancer, breast cancer, and prostate cancer. Wow. It's toxic to the liver and is used in the brain as a secondary fuel source. So if you have metabolic disease, insulin resistance, you're a few pounds overweight, and you have a drink and you feel energized, you feel uplifted, you feel alert, that's acetate. It is highly toxic to the brain, but it's being used as a secondary fuel source because when you have hyperinsulinemia or metabolic disease, your brain is suffocating of energy. It's needing energy. So acetate comes in and you get that boost of energy and you feel better. So it's a secondary reward system. Even though it's highly toxic, it makes you feel temporarily good. It's obviously toxic to the liver, but it also shuts down all other liver function or metabolic function like lipolysis. So if you're trying to go in the gym, work out, and lose fat, if you have alcohol present in your system, you're not burning any fat. It is solely trying to detoxify and rid the body of alcohol and all its metabolites before it can proceed in that process. It also stops any type of sugar metabolism or anything. It is solely trying to get rid of alcohol while alcohol is present. January 24th, 2023, The WHO did an article in The Lancet, and I just pulled a couple of quotes from it. We cannot talk about a so-called safe level of alcohol use. It doesn't matter how much you drink, the risk to the drinker's health starts from the first drop of any alcohol. What? Where's all the data saying, oh, one drink a day is good for you or it relaxes you and oh, it cleanses the liver and small doses and all this other stuff. I didn't see any of that. I saw those articles, but they were 10, 15 years old. And all the new stuff, the new articles are just terrible. When it comes to alcohol consumption, there is no safe amount that does not affect health. And then these are all the different types of cancers that they promote. More about cancer. CDC did an article. The less alcohol you drink, the lower your cancer risk. Drinking alcohol raises your risk for getting several types of cancer. Okay, let's go over those. Mouth and throat, voice box or larynx, esophageal, stomach, pancreas, colon, liver, and breast. I saw a couple studies that stated that up to 44% of breast cancer was linked to alcohol consumption. What? That's crazy. Okay, let's get into expert testimony. Somebody that I follow, Andrew Huberman, he's a neuroscientist from Stanford. His take on alcohol: acetaldehyde affects both DNA gene expression and metabolic processes. It's a poison at any amount and makes proliferation and aggregation of cells, meaning makes more and fuels more, causes hormonal dysregulation, lowers immune response, increases all-cause mortality, and disrupts the microbiome. Anything else? Dr. Chris Palmer, psychiatrist out of Harvard, his take on alcohol: moderate drinking is decreasing brain health and increasing mitochondrial dysfunction. Now, we all know it affects the liver, intoxifies the liver, and does damage to the liver. And his take is the brain is a very close second to immediate damage as the liver is. Dr. Daniel Amen, he's another psychiatrist, well-written author, has done thousands of brain scans and has a lot of data on alcoholism and alcoholics. And he says that any amount of alcohol use over a long period of time affects gray matter. It suffocates and restricts blood vessels to the brain, which then kills brain cells and significantly lowers your gray matter by atrophying your brain. This is incredible. Alcohol is a biological hand grenade. So let's go over the kind of step by step. How's this work? Breaks down DNA, disrupts DNA, and then creates DNA adducts, that bad piece where it just creates more cells. It fuels that cell growth through acetate. It's toxic to mitochondria and other organs, completely stops normal liver function like lipolysis and glucose metabolism, creates fatty liver disease, just like non-alcoholic fatty liver disease that I've talked about in my other videos. It's the same thing. The body doesn't know what's going on. It stops this normal process of the body burns fat for fuel. It starts to deposit that fat in the liver, just like alcohol stops all metabolism. It can't burn the fat, so it starts to deposit the fat in the liver. That creates a huge stress on the liver, which then creates NASH, then hepatitis, then cirrhosis, and then onto liver cancer. And that also will give me the reason as to why I've heard recently, I've had a friend of mine that had an aunt or somebody who was like 35 years old and was going in for a liver transplant. What? From drinking? Usually it's like a 50, a 60, or 70-year-old that's been an alcoholic their entire life. But when you add in insulin resistance and metabolic disease or non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, you're taxing your liver so hard because of all of the carbohydrates you're eating, and then you're drinking hard on top of it, it doesn't have a chance. Also, we didn't talk about dementia, but the decreased gray matter and stress and toxicity to the brain, you get early onset dementia. There's actually an alcoholic dementia called Korsakoff syndrome. Also, hormone dysregulation. How does that happen? Alcohol disrupts the Leydig cells. The Leydig cells create testosterone. So if it impacts the amount of testosterone that you can create, it then elevates estrogen because it's kind of a seesaw. If you have high test, estrogen stays low. If you have low test, estrogen comes up. And we all know estrogen is terrible for cancer. That's why typically breast cancer patients take anti-estrogens. There was a study done of two groups, alcoholics and healthy, healthy adults. And they took the testosterone level of all the alcoholics, and it was all really low. And then they had the group of healthy adults, and they gave them a drink, equivalency of the drink a day for 30 days. Within a week, they automatically saw a decline in testosterone across the group. And within 30 days, just 30 days, all those healthy adults had the same amount of testosterone levels that the long-term alcoholics had within 30 days. That's incredible. So again, increased estrogen, decreased testosterone, all bad for cancer. Disrupts healthy microbiome because it's alcohol, so it kills bacteria, right? Good, bad, or indifferent. Proliferation throughout the system and pro-inflammatory in the system as well. And proliferation through the system means that the alcohol and the toxins start to break down the endothelial line of the gut, and you get leaky gut. And you also get something that's newly termed leaky brain. So we have a protective layer in our brain. It's the blood-brain barrier. It doesn't let toxins through into the brain. Well, when you break down that barrier in the gut, the bad bacteria, get into the bloodstream. The toxins get into the bloodstream and then circulate through the system. And then because of the leaky brain syndrome, The brain is then toxified, and the bad bacteria get into the brain as well. All of this solely from alcohol. Terrible. Again, proliferation of bad bacteria through the system and into the bloodstream. And then to top it all off, alcohol is severely catabolic. So we, as gym goers and healthy adults trying to live a healthy life and be stronger and look better, it's catabolic. It breaks down protein synthesis. So we go in the gym, we break down muscle tissue, we come home, we eat and sleep to rebuild that muscle to be healthier and bigger and stronger the next day. We do that by protein synthesis. When you drink alcohol, it reverses that effect. It stops protein synthesis. It breaks down proteins. So you no longer can build up. It's anti-gym or anti-anabolic, meaning catabolic. They now call alcohol, or the researchers classify alcohol as a class 1 carcinogen equal to cigarettes. I've never heard this. I never saw this anywhere. This is where I've learned a ton, and it's terrifying because you always thought, oh yeah, one drink a day or a drink here and there is not going to hurt you, but not anymore. So my opinion, after reading this, who's the winner? Diet Coke is by far the winner here, no question. And I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen when I started this research, but there's countless studies on aspartame, and they're all basically inconclusive. And the newer ones say it's absolutely safe. There's no real detriment. It doesn't affect DNA. It doesn't have any toxicity to any of the organs. And it actually has some pretty good side effects. But where's the demonization come from? And I think that's from sodium saccharin. Those sweet and low, those pink packets, they have a little disclaimer that says can cause cancer in lab rats. I read that study. That study is just terrible. They already know that lab rats get cancer from any type of sodium product. And sweet and low is sodium saccharin. They force-fed rats 2,000, equivalent of about 2,000 pounds of sodium saccharin a day, and they got bladder cancer. Big shocker, right? So even that study is flawed. But that's a different compound. That's not aspartame. We're talking two totally different compounds. But I think that put that carcinogenic possibility in people's mind, and then they think diet soda, and then they think, oh, must cause cancer. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, who knows, but maybe that's an example of why there's this demonization, this mystique about fake sweeteners and being a carcinogen. Because there's no data that I saw or read that states anything other than inconclusive or safe. Alternatively, the data on alcohol is clear. It's pathognomonic, meaning pathognomonic is directly causation. Smoking causes lung cancer, pathognomonic. Drinking causes cancer. It's a class 1 carcinogen. There is no question. There is no debate. It does. Wow. This is not the outcome that I was expecting, but I learned a lot. I hope you learned a lot. I hope it was worth your time. My name is Todd Derry. This is TD's Fat to Fit. Please like, please subscribe, comment below. Please don't shoot the messenger. Send it to somebody who you might think this might benefit them. And I'll talk to you soon. They can never keep me down going.